Hi, Alex. Welcome back.
Hey, Will, how are you?
Yeah, good. Looking forward to our chat today. I really enjoyed our session previously around your book on decision making. It was a good discussion.
That's right. Yeah, I liked it as well. Yeah, it was very, very productive, and you helped me a lot actually to sort of clarify my thinking and to put it into words. Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
helped me. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. It's amazing how just having a conversation about a topic can, help.
Mm.
Look, I learned tons. It really got me thinking, actually. That first topic about not being results orientated was like quite thought provoking, and yeah, really the discussions we had brought that to life. So really, really enjoyed it.
hmm That's right. It's not usual or common amongst people to understand that. So after sort of processing, did you come up with any more questions or any thoughts or anything you wanna like add to conversation we had last time?
Yeah, I'm just reflecting on what we spoke about really, and I guess one thing is, not being results orientated. I think a lot of what we talked about made sense, especially that scenario where you kind of beat yourself up because you might not have got a result, and maybe something was out of your control, and really reflecting on, did you try your best? Did you give it your best shot? And I think that's so powerful. But I also wonder, with Scrum and Agile in particular, you're always going to have goals in business. I think it's going to be very difficult to avoid them. So I think what Agile and Scrum, what it does well is it always breaks things down into kind of more micro goals, so that you still have a vision, but you know every couple of weeks you're kind of setting something new, a bit like the Toyota improvement kata. So it kind of in some ways helps counter that, some of those challenges that we're talking about. But I think you still need to be mindful about being focused on doing your best, and then say, that anti pattern of, oh, we've missed a sprint goal, beating yourself up, trying to avoid that.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's why I definitely put more emphasis on having clear vision. Like
Yeah,
vision definitely need to be communicated to your team, and
yeah,
and everyone needs to understand what we're trying to achieve, right? Which way we're
yeah,
going, and when
yeah,
everyone's on the same page, then we sort of have cohesion, right?
yeah.
And also, like just reiterating from last time, what we talked
Mm,
about. Uh, you shouldn't be looking at your results to
mm,
understand if you're doing things right. Yeah, because the results are driven by luck, and you get lucky sometimes, you get unlucky sometimes, and results are not a reflection of your effort or sort of because so much luck involved. But the question is, well, what can you do if everything driven by luck? All you can do is have a better decision. If you train yourself, if you come up with better decisions, over time, you're
mm.
going to achieve better outcomes. You never guarantee it
Totally.
for any single time. There's everything uncertain. But what we know, person who makes better decisions end up in a better
Yeah,
place over time. Same with the team. Team needs to
yeah,
learn how to make better decisions together as a team.
mm,
Right?
yeah,
That's the most important thing. And then
yeah,
when team makes better decisions and you go for long enough time, you see better outcomes than otherwise.
yeah.
And sort of,
Totally.
yeah, that comes to sort of topic for today. And I want to talk about hindsight bias and attribution errors. So why you cannot look at your results to understand quality of your decision because of these two huge
Mm,
biases, right? So one is hindsight. When something happens and looking back, you
yeah,
always think, how did I do that? Why did I come up with this idea? It was so wrong. but you're in a position where you already know result, and that sort of destroys your ability to judge your decision at a time when you did know what's going to happen, right? You make decision in environment of uncertainty, right? Let's say your development team, sprint planning, we plan for the next 2 or 3 weeks iteration with sprint. We have no idea what's going to happen, right? We're just doing our best guess, trying to come up with the best plan, but when we get to retrospective, and that's what I sort of like about sprint Scrum, that it gives you retrospective. It always forces you to look back and assess how did you go. But the problem at retrospective, you know the result. You know you have achieved your goal or you didn't achieve your goal. And now looking back, your judgment is not sort of clear anymore. You cannot say that at the planning stage we made a mistake or we've done everything right at the planning when we made a decision, because you already know the result, and it's just impossible. And I tried for many years to disengage and then sort of not do it. You cannot fight it, but at least you can be aware of this. So does it make sense so far?
Totally, yeah. And I'm also really excited about today's subject, hindsight bias and the attribution errors, because I think that's where it's really powerful. If you do have a vision and look, you have micro goals, so you're still having something you're targeting, if you can't avoid that, but you're aware of hindsight bias, so that you are you're operating in a way to try and counter that I think is really powerful. And lots of teams that I've worked with that have been top performers have worked like that. So I was wondering, you explained a little bit about hindsight bias. So what would be some of the techniques or approaches that you might use to counter it or to try and get around it?
First, let me give you an example, like a specific example of hindsight bias. Let's say you're at sprint planning, you said, okay, we have this risk, and there might be 20% of risk that something happens, and the sort of impact is going to be medium, and we're going to sort of deal with this when we counter that risk, right? So you go through your sprint, and this thing actually happens. You hit that 20% probability. You come into the retrospective, and you look back and say, oh, how we were so stupid, we shouldn't have, resolved that risk, we should mitigate it because now it's a problem and blah, blah, blah. But is it? Because if you allocated 20% of risk, 20% probability, it means it's supposed to happen once every 5 times, right? So you knew it might happen. And the fact that it happened doesn't tell you if your probability was wrong when you're assessing this.
Okay.
But what very often happens, people hit this 20%, they get in trouble, and then they start saying, oh, we were wrong. We need to change our policies. We need to change our procedures. Let's say at the sprint planning, you said, we could mitigate it, but it's costly, right? And it's going to cost us too much to mitigate this risk, so we just take it on and we will deal with this, right? But now you hit it and you look back, say, oh no, we cannot afford to do this because we look stupid. And you change your policies and you incur all these costs forever, pretty much.
Okay.
To mitigate
risk averse.
Yeah, absolutely risk averse. And the same goes the other way. So when that risk didn't materialize, it doesn't mean your probability estimation at the start of your work were wrong, and it doesn't mean it was correct. When you're at the retrospective looking back, you sort of need to put yourself in a position of not knowing the outcome. It's impossible. It's impossible. But the best way I found is to ask other people, ask advice and say, let's say I'm in this position. what should be my decision, and I explain everything environment, but I never tell what happened. That's the key. When you ask for advice, as soon as you tell someone what actually happened, that's it, you ruin it. Because people won't be able to get away from this, and they tell you, "Oh no, you're wrong." If well, and resist, like at all cost. Don't tell anyone what actually happened, and I say, "This was situation. I was in this position, and I made this decision. Was the decision correct or not?"
Okay. So why would you not tell them what happened? Like if it's a past decision, and you're wanting their feedback, if you tell them everything and then get their opinion, can you then tell them the decision after you've had their opinion? Or
you can tell the decision, but not the result. So you're trying not to be result oriented, and
sorry, that's what I mean. Okay,
so
you
not to
try
be
to suppress. Okay, because otherwise you're having that mindset again of talking about the result. I see.
And that's going to be first thing people ask always. Like when you say, "What should I do?" They say, "Well, what's the outcome?" I say, "No, hold on a sec. What should I do? What's the decision?"
Well, people always want to know, right? It's like the punchline of the story. Like, if you bought some stocks and you're telling people, "Did I follow the right process?" They're going to say, "Well, Alex, what happened? How did your stocks do?" It's going to be quite hard to resist to not tell them, but
and that's the hindsight bias. Now we're coming to attribution error, right? Second thing is attribution error. When you win or when you succeed or you achieve success, you say, "We're good. I'm good. I've done good decision. I'm amazing. Everything done right. We succeeded as a team. We succeeded. We celebrate because we attribute the success to our effort, our good processes, good practices, good decision making. As soon as we fail, we say, "Oh, this happened, that happened. It's not our fault."
Okay.
It's normal. Everyone does that, and it's absolutely like you see it all the time. When you come to that. Like post-mortem exercise, right? Your incident review, and it's very often like finger pointing and blaming, shaming and blaming, because it's a problem, right? As soon as it's success, we say, "Yeah, we've done a good job."
You take credit for
things. Absolutely.
So they probably go hand in hand, I guess, because something bad happens, and you all say, "Oh, we kind of knew that might happen anyway." But it wasn't our fault. It was the bad ops monitoring, or the bad decision made by, or someone in the team let us down, or so you're kind of attributing it to something.
COVID happened. So many external, circumstances. So that's why like this hindsight bias, attribution errors. You need to be aware. So one more point, very good one, I think. So when you do your retrospective, you look back at your decision making, and you do it because you want to learn how to do better decisions, how to make better decisions, right? In the future, like we said, better decisions you make, better outcomes you achieve eventually. So you want to learn how to do better decisions. When you succeed, people just celebrate. They never look back and say, "What have we done wrong?" Because we achieved success, And actually, to fail, that's why it's very valuable to fail. When you fail, you look back, you force, because like everyone understands, something went wrong, and you're very, focused on what can be improved when you fail. You need to do exactly the same thing when you succeed. When you achieve all your goals, you need to still have a, discipline. Discipline to look back and say, "What did you do?"
Totally. There's always something to improve.
Absolutely.
But and you're missing an opportunity if you don't. If you just celebrate and then just move on, then you're not going to improve. You're not going to, outperform, make better decisions. I guess.
Yeah, make better decisions. Yeah, that's the way it is. So yeah, like in a sense, to fail is good for your decision-making process because it forces you to improve. But if you succeed, you need to be, more sort of upfront with this. You need to put more emphasis and effort to actually do that exercise. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the scenarios that I've seen with the hindsight bias play out quite a lot is where companies make an investment decision. So they're building a service or a product, and then releasing that to customers or into the market, and then kind of getting some results back and saying, oh, well, we kind of expected that, the result where it landed, but what's really powerful, and you've probably done this before, is this kind of hypothesis-driven development, where very early on you sit down and you say, well, what are we trying to achieve, and what does success look like? Talking about upfront what good would look like. And I know this is, obviously creeping into the area of results, but having a conversation around, your business goals in terms of, well, if we launch this market, what would we consider to be successful, is quite insightful, I think, because when you actually come to test it or release something, you've got something to evaluate against, and it throws you off, so it kind of stops you having that bias to a degree. I don't know, have you used something like that before?
Yeah, it feels like a smart thing to do, and that's kind of the another problem with humans. We have egos, we want to feel good, and we want to feel smart, and we want to feel appreciated, and we don't want to look stupid, and that's causes lots of problems, right? Because the always probability of every decision of probability of success, right? And when you make a decision in your sprint planning or whatever, when you want to do something, you assign probability, and it's never you're going to succeed 100%, or we're going to achieve this 100%. There's always, you need to think in probabilities. You need to say, okay, 80%, 20% of whatever, and then you say, is it acceptable or not acceptable, those probabilities, right? And sometimes if you really do hypothesis-driven development, you're going to fail a lot, right? And that's actually a purpose of the testing hypothesis, to fail it.
Yeah.
Because you don't validate your hypothesis, you invalidate it. When you come up with hypothesis, your purpose is to invalidate, to prove that it's wrong. And if you can't find the proof that it's wrong, then you assume it's a good hypothesis. And people do it wrong, and it's again, I would say maybe attribution error, when you think, oh, this must be true, and then you fiddle everything to make it true, to make it look true, because you collect all the data and everything is biased. Yeah. And it's all depending on your assumptions. Whichever assumptions you make, that kind of affects your validation of that hypothesis. So I still kind of trying to reiterate, okay, you make decisions and you have vision, and as long as your decisions align with your vision and bring you forward on that trajectory, that's the best you can do. And then you put all your effort to execute it properly, right?
Yeah.
And then you learn to make better decisions by looking back and reevaluating. But don't get attached to results.
A specific target. I guess the key thing with this as well is having data. That's really important, because how do you know if your decisions making is good if you're not, looking at the results? Say if it might be profitability, it might be customer satisfaction, then maybe there are some internal measures, but you really need that data to be to be data driven, you need the measures. There might not necessarily be a target, but that's going to really help.
Yeah, I would love to talk about all this data-driven approach, but maybe later on, because it's a big topic. And I think if we get to that, maybe later on, it will dig a bit deeper into that topic. Yeah.
One thing that comes to mind when we're talking about this, and I don't know if this is covered in some of your later chapters, is the halo effect, the halo error. Is that something you talk about later, or should we have a quick chat about that now?
Yeah, go ahead. Do you want to define it so we understand on the same page?
Yeah. So the halo effect is the tendency where if you have a positive impression of someone, so it could be a person, a company, a country, something like that, then you're going to be more influenced by them, by their opinion. So it's kind of the thing like you see an old lady and you think, oh, it's an old lady, she'll be kind, and she'll be a good person, and it's kind of your bias based on that. Or maybe you have an unconscious bias from someone from like a Pacific country or something like that, and you think, oh, you have associations. So it's that kind of effect. But I was kind of thinking with like attribution bias, you have that tendency to blame something. Oh, that went wrong because of that. But then you could also have like an inverse halo effect, that you could have a perception of someone that you think is a weak link, or perception of something. So you could almost combine them. You could be blaming something because you have a biased perception about some element. So yeah, they feel kind of interlinked slightly, but it's interesting how the human mind works, and how you can be influenced by something that you've got like a bias in your head already about, a person, a brand. Maybe it's a tech stack, right? You love a certain tech stack, so you have this. Anything they release, you think is great, and
you cannot see anything bad about your opinion or your tech stack, or nothing good. You can just ignore it. And that's the sort of thinking fast and slow book, right? It really goes deep into that, exploring, and like that's your system one thinking. You get the answer straight away. Bang, this is good, this is bad, and it works immediately. You just feel it. Bang, done. So what you need to do, okay, you stop and you think, okay, why am I thinking this? Is this person? Why do I weight his opinion so much? Well, what are the reasons, right? Let's say you allocated the probabilities of your success of your decisions, and then you just say, okay, why am I doing this? Like somebody really important told so, but what are his expertise? Based on what's the experience?
Because
absolutely,
it's a question. Because that's I guess a similar version of that is the hippo effect, where there's almost like the halo effect. It's normally a senior person, a decision maker, but then they've also got power and authority on you as well. So if they make a decision, do people feel comfortable to question it and ask about, well, where's the data, or what was the process that led you to make this decision? People might not ask that; they'll just agree, and then
you can't expect people to actually argue with the hippo opinion, right? It's not the right expectation. So it's sort of up to you as a manager or leader to sort of shut up and give people autonomy to execute. But what you need to do is provide vision, clearly communicate vision, and make sure all the decisions align to the vision, right? But the decisions, I'll talk about later. So they need to be delegated, really, because people who execute, they know better, that they actually working on the problem. They have more information. So you as a manager, you never have all the data they have to make that decision. So absolutely, and so you cannot get rid of biases, right? All you can do is just be aware of them. And what I find the best sort of most helpful way not to know result. It
Okay.
helps tremendously. Yeah, but when you assess your quality of your decision. Otherwise, you're just aware of this and you try your best.
It's funny because I think when the hindsight bias kicks in and the company's made an investment, quite often it can lead to them being less likely to pivot or change direction, because they think, oh, we spent this money already. It's kind of what we expected. Maybe even leads into that, that sunk cost fallacy. Like they're less likely to say, oh, that's not going as we expected it would, or that's, and calling it early. So being disciplined to really evaluate. There's that saying about the stock market, which I really like, is that if you hold stocks, you have to ask yourself, would you buy more stocks at that price? And if you wouldn't, sell them. Having that kind of discipline, I think, is hard, but makes a lot of sense.
That's it, absolutely. And actually, another technique I very like is having a pre-mortem exercise. Right? So when you're planning to do something, you come up with decision, and then you imagine yourself in the future, and you didn't succeed with this decision, right? It failed. And then you look kind of back and say, why did it fail? People come up with very good reasons why that decision was wrong, but only because they detached from the result. They don't know result yet. So they're free to think about anything.
Love that.
So but when you do post-mortem, you already know result. You know what happened. You just cannot detach from that. And the pre-mortem, amazing exercise, very easy to do, and just at your, even at your sprint planning, you say, okay, we plan for this. Imagine sprint ended, we had retrospective, and we failed. What was the reason? We will give you a bunch of reasons.
Definitely. I've done the pre-mortems a few times, and they've always proved so valuable. A big delivery we ran one, and we got so much out of it, and as a result there were some key risks that we decided to action. And then the second time round, it was interesting because there were less things people were worried about, so straight away we could see the confidence factor was a lot higher, but there was one key thing that emerged, and we took an action away to address that. But so valuable, having those conversations up front rather than, like you say, in the aftermath, which is never fun. So love that, Alex. Great. Okay, well, fantastic. So that's another chapter discussed.
And, I think it went really well. So thanks for your time again.
All good.
We have a lot to go. I hope we sort of continue and
let's do it
deeper on these questions.
We're
interesting questions. That's right.
All right, Alex. Nice one. Have a great rest of your day and weekend, and I'll speak to you next time.
Thanks, Will.